A global namaste to everyone present here. It's a beautiful morning, and towards the weekend, we are still celebrating Navratri. It's the grace of the goddesses, and we truly welcome you to one of its kind India Business Group Chamber of Commerce webinars. And today we are extremely thrilled to have with us our veteran, our legend, Mr. Ananth Mahadevan. We've loved him on the big screen, on the small screen. When he performs live, we've loved him every way possible. And today we are extremely fortunate here at India Business Group to have him. We'll have a word with all of us. And guess what, to everyone who's here with us? Yes, feel free to ask every question. All you wanted to know about entertainment, and more entertainment. So we have our legend here with us. At first, please allow me to thank Anand sir. Thank you very much, Ananth Mahadevan sir, for being here with us. It's absolutely our honor and our privilege. Thank you very much, dear sir. Well, India Business Group Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit organization and has more than 1,000 regular members, and of course, more than 30,000 members registered. And of course, we go on an international arena of every endeavor, and we help people excel at every endeavor of theirs, of course, in every part of the world. And of course, India Business Group also gives you, a lot to do with the various chamber of commerce all across the world. We had one of them, one of its kind, with Uganda Chamber of Commerce yesterday itself. So we are all truly blessed at this point of time, especially during the pandemic and the COVID, that we are all doing extremely well by the grace of God. I'm going to thank our business guru, who is the founder of India Business Group. And of course, we always call him a very young radio jockey. I'm starting from radio jockey and then going the hierarchy. We've already known him for 3 amazing books. He's been penned down 3 amazing books. And these lovely books, the 4th one to be launched in the month of Jan. And of course, the chairman and managing director of Nazara Technologies Limited. Maybe please humbly welcome our business guru, Mr. Vikash Mitasen, and our honorary Consul General of the Republic of Mali, Mr. Vikash Mitasen. A wholehearty welcome to you. Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning?
All good, Simran. Thanks a lot. We have
Thank you very much. Are you excited?
Absolutely. We have a star with us today. And to give the background of why you are here, Anand, we have recently formed, we have many verticals in IBG, but we recently formed the film vertical. That's we call it Media Cell. And Yusuf heads it. We couldn't have got a better guy for this.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of plans for this vertical, starting from reviews of films, interactions with the producers, music directors, bringing all of them one by one to our chamber. And we are, I'm seeing much more results already happening than what we had originally planned. So I really hope that you will also be part of this journey and guide us to the extent that is required time to time.
Yusuf has always been a great guy to partner with and work with. So you're absolutely right. You couldn't have got a better person to head this vertical, and this is really going to go up and up and up. And it's going to be a very enjoyable journey with Yusuf, analyzing the cinema industry, the show business, and everything that goes with it. So that's a great decision. Yes.
Because it is now cinema is no longer cinema. Cinema as my people knew it, my age people. It is completely different.
Right.
And it is so many platforms, so many different types of movies coming in.
Absolutely.
It's all new,
Right.
A lot of people, it will be a learning process.
Right.
Simran, you want to go ahead?
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the kind words. I just wanted to say hi. Thank you for the kind words, Vikasji, Anandji. Yeah, this is an initiative which we are really excited about, and we have various industry people from different industries who are part of this group, this Chamber of Commerce, and we are looking to add value to their lives through our media, through our film industry, and who better than Anand sir and all us to guide us through. And yeah, let's hear it from Anand sir.
That's brilliant. So before we have Anand sir, I'm going to request Priya, our CEO, to address everyone, and then I would like to introduce Anand sir. Yusuf sir, by permission, please. Thank you.
Good
Please.
morning, everyone. Let me first of all thanks Jhelum for arranging this meeting. Jhelum, thanks a lot. Jhelum is also part of this media cell committee, and she has introduced Ananth today to come on our platform. So thanks a lot for that.
Very good.
And keeping up to our promise to do a lot of activities in this vertical, today's webinar is in conjunction with that. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Simran.
Thank you very much, Priya, for your kind words. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Yusuf Sheikh, sir. And I'm going to definitely take this opportunity of now introducing our legend here with us. My dear lovely ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ananth Mahadevan is a media veteran of 40 years in theatre, television, films, and advertising, as well as journalism. He's a great filmmaker, a national film award-winning filmmaker for the Marathi biopic Me Sindhutai Sarkar, and the film is still creating waves in the, of course, the film front, and also the first time a Marathi film has gone up to that mark. So, beating even the Bollywood filmmakers, that's absolutely phenomenal. He's an acclaimed for award-winning films like God Hari Dastan, The Freedom File, which was the official selection at EP Goa, the International Film Festival in Kerala, and several others. Of course, his rough book, Dr. Rahmabai, which was internationally acclaimed and awarded at festivals in New York. Now, all his achievements have been absolutely of great news at all the various international film festivals. And Bittersweet, the latest film in Marathi, is also an official selection this year at the prestigious Busan International Film Festival. He's acted in over 100 feature films in Hindi, English, Marathi, Malayalam, Tamil, Kannada, Telgu, including Gardish, Khiladi, Bazigar, Badshah, Papanasam, Vishwarupam, Two Evening Shadows, and several others. On the small screen, of course, we've loved him in over 1,000 episodes at the prime time television, acted in over 75 television serials, web series, including The Sport of the Sultan, Garjamai Nupur, and others. And of course, we've loved him when we watch him live with 35 stage plays with over 3,000 shows all across the world. Truly delighted, and of course, the magnificent work done by Mr. Ananth Mahadevan. May we please request you to address all of us. Thank you so much at first for being here with us.
Thank you, Simran. Thank you so much for that. I don't know deserving, whether it's deserving introduction, but thank you nevertheless. Good morning, everyone. It's such a wonderful way to start the morning with the India Business Group. Normally, I do these webinars in the evening once, you're fagged out and tired after a long day's work. But it's good to start afresh in the morning. I can see a lot of people here having their morning cup of coffee or tea and, settling down to what I hope is an enlightening look at the past, present, and the future of Indian cinema. A few days back, I was very amused to read a flyer on Facebook which said that 2021 planners ready. Book your copy now, or book your whatever now, and shop now, whatever. So this had come just a few months after I had consigned my 2020 planner to the dustbin. So they're already having planners for 2021, and people still haven't realized that planners don't work anymore, because nature works in its own way. I would say, the universe works in its own way. Who had ever guessed, who had ever thought that the world would grind to a halt in 2020, and everything that you had planned or put in your planner for the year has gone for a toss. This is unprecedented in the sense that we in our lifetime haven't come across something like this. We weren't around when the Spanish flu spread across the world, or we weren't around when the Second World War inflicted so much casualty all around. And we weren't even around when the bubonic plague hit us very close to Mumbai, that is in Pune and other places, somewhere around 1897, 98, if I'm not mistaken. So this is what we are facing for the first time, and it has put us to the acid test in every possible sector of life. And we have I mean, we've seen what has happened in the last year, whether it's migrants or whether it's the economy or whether it is people who have lost their jobs or people who have like reduced their incomes and everything. The world has gone topsy-turvy. Some say it's a cleansing process, some say it's a conspiracy, and there are so many theories attached to it, and everyone is waiting for that elusive vaccine. So, in a situation like this, where does it leave the show business, cinema, and television and theater, and everything connected with show business? Let me go back a little in history. Yusuf would be sort of, Yusuf will sort of add to that later. Long time back, in the 60s, when the Hollywood films used to really sort of, particularly the James Bond films, used to rage at the box office in India, there was a very strange kind of policy that was adopted, whereby they banned foreign films. They banned Hollywood films because it's affecting the business of Hindi cinema, and that was very amusing because it's very strange that you cannot attract audiences with your cinema and you are blaming someone else's cinema. So that reigned for some time before the window was lifted, and after 2 or 3 years, Hollywood films came back to India. And that was the time when I first remembered that cinemas had come to some kind of a partial halt, and we were denied and we were robbed of what we used to love, the American and the UK films from abroad. But this is a bigger picture that is happening today. The entire film industry, of course, we were the first people to go off the radar in March before the lockdown, and we would probably be the last to open up. So, how has one come to perceive cinema during this time, and how do you think that this is going to go ahead? Is what we have to look at. Now, during this time, what has happened is when the cinemas were closed, suddenly Doordarshan, which had sort of, virtually sort of shut down its coffers and suddenly opened up, and they gave us a rerun of some of the classics on television in the 80s and the 90s. And very surprisingly, and much to, I think, the chagrin of a lot of programmers today who had told me that that kind of television doesn't work anymore with the youth audience. It was the youth who took to the Ramayana, Mahabharat, Vyomkesh Bakshi, Discovery of India, Udan, and the like, all those television serials that were telecast all over again, proving how wrong our programmers are today and how way off the mark they were. So it was some kind of a retro run, and we rewound ourselves 20 years back, and television suddenly became the television that we knew television was, the founding fathers of Indian television, and not the rot that has set in the new millennium when the daily soaps had come in and made television extremely regressive and repetitive. So, in a way, I think the best part, the best takeaway from this COVID lockdown was the revival of what television used to be, and the youth being exposed to that, those kind of shows. And besides, of course, all the great shows from abroad, whether they are Israeli, Arabic, or any language, Spanish shows. Suddenly, the language did not matter. The films and cinema and television became a subtitle, and everyone watched everything around the world. You know, it sort of inculcated in you a new outlook towards television. The formula that we were fed on, the mainstream cinema, the circuses that we used to patronize, those went out of the window, and slowly a new form of television, a new form of cinema started taking over. And today when you talk to the youth, they suddenly they mock most of our films from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They say that it's too loud, it's too over the top, and there is no subtlety meter. So I guess a kind of education is happening with the modern generation. about what performances should be all about, what filmmaking should be all about, what television should be all about. So that's another change I have noticed in the past 6 months during the lockdown. But what I see as a bigger picture today is on three fronts. I would say the creative front, the economic front, and the technical front. Now, coming to the technical front, today we are questioning ourselves as to whether people would go back to the cinemas when the cinemas open. What is all this social distancing about? What is all this 50% occupancy all about? Well, if in one way, if you see it, most of our films were, they just had 10% or 20% occupancy. With the kind of distribution or the kind of films that we had, very few films, 4 or 5 films in a whole year, did 100% occupancy for a few days over the weekend. That's about it. After that, it was always 30%, 40%, or 20%, or a meager 10 or 5%. Sometimes I used to sit all alone in the cinema and watch a film. I had the cinema to my hall to myself. So there's no question of this 50%, cribbing over this 50% opening. I think we should just go ahead and have the cinemas open and have the new films come on, and not get the old films and not rerun the old films and actually keep the audience away. You are actually like sort of telling them, don't come again. So if we get the new films on, and I'm sure there should be some kind of a discipline most of us would maintain. If there are, I see it like this, the statistics is if there are, say, A to Z, 26 rows in a cinema, and there are, say, 20 seats in one row, and even if you have just 4 guys sitting on each row, you have 25 into 4, more than 100 people occupying that 200-seater cinema, which is very good enough for social distancing and for the box office returns. So I think we should go ahead, calculate this, and let the cinemas open so that, the basic form of entertainment, even during the Second World War, you would be surprised to know that cinemas never closed down. It is the cinemas that provided the kind of escapism that people wanted. And most of the great cinema of Hollywood in the 50s and the 40s during the World War I and World War II were enjoyed by the maximum number of audiences. And we still remember those great black and white films. So let's not make cinema the scapegoat for the pandemic. Let's go ahead and bravely open it up and maintain a certain kind of discipline. Now, that is as far as the economic factors are concerned. Today, I read a report by PricewaterhouseCoopers that there should be about 500 billion coming in from the Indian show business, Indian television and film industry alone by 2024, which is a very good prediction for us. So if we're going to work towards achieving that kind of target, whether it is digital platforms, which they say would be the maximum, have the maximum percentages of output, or television or films, I think the picture ahead may not be very rosy, but it's very optimistic. And we should work towards that and see how right and how accurate PricewaterhouseCoopers is about this prediction. When it comes to the creativity, now this is where I think a lot of questions can be raised, a lot of debates can be put forward. Do cinemas now attract only the huge, big 70 extravaganzas? And is the intimate kind of cinema, is the subtle kind of cinema, is the offbeat, international, global language kind of cinema, is it going to be restricted to digital platforms? I hate the word OTT. I'm trying not to use that word. OTT is over the top, and I hate being over the top. So I'm using the word digital. So is it going to be confined to digital platforms or satellite channels? Once upon a time, I think even now, there were films made in the US, in Hollywood, which were called direct to video. They were not supposed to go on to the big screen. And you would be probably surprised to hear, but I'm sure Yusuf would know, that Slumdog Millionaire, when it was being made, was actually made direct to video until the Toronto festival happened and Foxstar picked it up, and then of course it became history, winning all those Oscars. So there is something called a direct to video. So we have direct to digital channel films. Some of them happened by default during this pandemic. And there are 5 or 6 films which were released, major big releases which were released on the digital platforms. And they were supposed to go on to a normal theatrical release, but they didn't have any other go. But so they released it on digital. But I would dare say, and at the cost of being criticized for this, that most of those films are very lucky because they did manage to take a large chunk of money out of the digital platforms. I doubt if most of them were released in the cinemas, whether they would have lasted for more than a week, and it would have been, yeah, Yusuf is nodding in agreement. I can see that. So they wouldn't have. So I guess somewhere this has been a blessing in disguise. So some films which were released during the pandemic on the digital platforms, and they got away with it. That's what I would say. But again, coming back to the major question of what kind of cinema now are you looking at to put into the big screens? Are we now looking at the huge, screens where you only see something like a Bahubali or Dunkirk, those kind of cinemas, the IMAX? Are we only going to film on IMAX cameras now so that people would come back to the cinemas, return there, because that would be too huge, for the small screen? So that is something we got to think about. But I would say this is the time to look back when multiplexes were sort of set up, and they were set up with 5 screens, 6 screens, and as many as 14 screens at some centers. Why weren't the multiplexes, which actually profess to reviving cinema or to be in the cause of cinema, why wasn't at least one single tiny little screen, say of a capacity of say 100 seats, reserved permanently for the kind of cinema that would make India proud, for the kind of cinema that would go global, for the kind of discerning audience who wants to see cinema of a different kind, of a pure kind? It's a shame because many years back, when we did not have multiplexes, the NFDC reserved the Akashwani cinema in Mumbai and later the Lotus cinema in Worli only for the kind of films, the serious cinema, I would say. I mean, taking cinema seriously. The Jane Bhi Do Yaros and the Kasturis and the Mriktashas, and the very important award-winning films, or the films that cater to a niche audience. Because where do these filmmakers go? You are actually discouraging filmmakers from talking global cinema by making sure that they do not have an exhibition outlet, a distribution outlet, and you actually charge them 50 lakhs if their films have to go into the cinemas, and you give them a very, very stepmotherly 11 o'clock morning show which no one attends, and you pull off the film. How sad is that? How tragic and how cruel is that? So my plea to these cinemas, now that they were yearning for filmmakers to come back to the cinemas and not go on to the digital platforms, this is the time to open their eyes. This is the time to make amends and put their smallest screen and put a ticket price of just 120 or 150 rupees. And I promise you that, and you can even sort of, can have some kind of a curative jury, and only films which deserve to be in that kind of cinema need to come there. It doesn't mean that every low budget film is a film that qualifies to be something for the discerning audience or an award-winning film. You can put a curating group there and get these films, and I promise you, with a price of 100, 120 and 150, you will have houseful audiences, and you can run that film at least for 5 weeks in that one screen. Even with just 3 shows, you could devote 2 other shows for some other film. But try this experiment, and it's my plea, it's my prayer to these multiplexes, that change the way cinema is seen, change the way cinema is patronized, change the way cinema is made. You could do something for the movement. and this is the time to do it. This is the time when everything is ground to a halt. You are overhauling your cinemas. You are overhauling all the cobwebs over there now. You are spending more than 1,000 crore all over India. That is the figure that has been estimated for overhauling the cinemas and getting it back ship shape, to get audiences in, to still smell the fragrance there, and to enjoy the darkness between the audience and the screen. So this is your big chance, multiplex owners, and there are about 6 of them, 6 main chains, and we are ready to sit with you. People like Yusuf and me, we are ready to come there, and we are ready to promote your 100-seater screen with the industry and make them aware. Okay, look, here is this outlet. It need not be in every property of yours. It can be in selected property, like for example in Mumbai, have one in town, have one in the suburbs, have one in Thana. That's good enough. That's all you need to get these audiences and educate them and change them, so that they wean away from the kind of circuses that we think is entertainment, to the kind of cinema that the world is manufacturing today. It's a shame that in spite of being the biggest industry in the world, the economies and the number here is huge, but we still make the worst films in the world. Let's face that. So why don't you encourage the people who really want to do good cinema, but do not have the wherewithal to do it? So then producers will crop up trying to support that. You have an exhibition which is confirmed, and then you go on to a digital platform. How wonderful would that be? So that is my plea today, and that is the takeaway I want from this pandemic. So that is the creativity which I want to talk about. And of course, then you will have the audiences coming in, and the scenario changing. So that's all I have to say right now about what we are going through and what we could do to sort of overhaul the entire system, not just the cinema properties. So that's about it, Simran. Over to
Sure.
you, if we could
Then
now.
at first, everyone wants to know. Thank you so much at first, for sharing with us your expertise and your perception about the beautiful world of cinema. That since the time we are born, it's only about cinema that every single soul dreams about. So at first, we like to all know about your book because we've had several questions asking about Once Upon a Prime Time, and you just penned down the book. It's recently released. Please tell us more about this book, please.
About 2 years back, 2.5 years back, I realized that it's been very uncanny, but I have been running parallel to the Indian television industry for the past 38 or 40 years. In 83, when commercial sponsored television started, I was fortunate enough to be amongst the first in that first week of television. Jailam would remember this very well, that in the first week, on Monday, we had Barrister Vinod. On Tuesday, we had Humlog, which had already settled down because that's the first soap which came in. On Wednesday, we had the whiz kid of Indian television, the answer to Dynasty, Dallas, and Santa Barbara. We had Khandan on Wednesdays by Sridhar Shiv Sagar. On Thursdays was where I stepped in, and fortunate enough to be directed by the wonderful Sai Paranjpe, who had made Chashme Badur and Katha and Sparsh. And we did Ados Pados with Amol Palekar, Rameshwari, Harindranath Chattopadhyay, and myself. And then on Friday, we had the cult comedy Ye Jo Hai Zindagi, which Kundan Shah, Aziz Mirza, Manjul Sinha, all of them directed. And of course, Saturday was the second episode. It was twice a week of Hum Log. And Sunday was the big floodgates opened up with Idhar Udhar, Rajni, Darpan, Khazana, Vajana, Paying Guest. This was much before Mahabharata and Ramayana came in. So that's what the first week is all about. And then from then till today, even till last month when I did Lokmanya Tilak in some episodes of Mere Sai on Sony television, someone told me that, Anand, do you realize that you are probably the only guy who's been running the entire gamut of 38 or 40 years? There have been great people who have worked on television, but some of them have fallen by the wayside. Some of them have retired. Some of them have, unfortunately, they are no longer with us. But you have been there throughout and you've seen it all. And unfortunately, we do not have a record of what happened in those 40 years. No one has maintained a diary. No one has written a book. No one has ever talked about it. No interviews, no nothing. And we do not even have tapes. American television, when we had all the cassettes or the CDs or the DVDs to buy and see full seasons of Friends or Jailbreak or Prison Break or series like that. So I realized that yes, I need to put this down, and I did not have a diary either. So I had to rely on memory, and it was fortunate that I remembered almost every interaction with everyone. But of course, I met up with a lot of people, right from Bashu Chatterjee to Rishikesh Mukherjee to Aziz Mirza, Kundan Shah, Saeed Mirza, B.R. Chopra, Ramanand Sagar, Ramesh Sippy, M.S. Satyu, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, and the like, and Govind Nailani and Gulzar Saab and Sham Benegal, of course, and put it together. But I put it down like an autobiography. It's a story of all the stories you loved. So here's how it looks. Here's the book. It's called Once Upon a Prime Time, and it tells my journey through Indian television, along with all the work that my contemporaries and my seniors did. So that's the story. And it was very tough to write because it wasn't just my story. It was a story about everyone who was involved in television till today. And hopefully, it makes a breezy reading. That's what a lot of readers have told me. So that's what it was. And again, during the pandemic, my publisher, he took a chance. He said, let's do a reverse publishing. Let's get it on to Kindle first, and then get the hardcover copy out, the hardbound copy. So we released it on Kindle around about the 20th of May, right in the midst of the pandemic. And it provided us a great platform, as a springboard for the hardcover to release in July. And it was some kind of a teaser, a campaign, or some kind of a trailer for the actual book to come out. So that's what it is. Today, even companies like HSBC and Mahindra Tech are doing webinars with me on the book, which I'm very surprised and very happy about, because it has gone beyond the television world. It has gone beyond the cinema world. It's also gone into the technical world, and I'm glad that they are trying to, they consider this a trip down memory lane, nostalgia that they had lived over the past 20, 30, 40 years. So that's what it is in a nutshell. Yes.
Brilliant. We really look forward, to having a copy and reading it as well. Thank you for sharing with us Once Upon a Prime Time. And to everyone, yes, we're going to share the details. We're looking forward to a copy, and we make sure that you have one with you. And it's Mr. Vikas Mithasena is planning to do a book. All his past three books have been on, with the number nines, the top nine CEOs and the likes. And this is his future project where he's planning. I feel actors never retire. Once an actor, always an actor. But on topmost actors, it's been at one point of time, but right now, of course, they're not into the acting field and in cinema, actively present. So he wants to pen down a book on top nine, actors. I shouldn't call it retire, but who've done great work in cinema. What is your take on this?
I think it's a great idea. He should get on to it immediately. He should try and get on to Mr. Dilip Kumar. You must try and get on to a lot of veterans who we fortunately have around, and are probably not very active at the moment. I wish you had started much earlier. Then you could have had Bhagwan Dada, you could have had Bharat Bhushan. Of course, today you have Bishwadeep, you have Bishwajit, you have Wahida ji, you have Asha Parekh ji, you have Helen ji. Of course, Dilip Saab may not be able to really communicate with you, but you can get all the details about him. I'm sure if you look around, and I'll be very happy to help you out with this. It will be something that would be a great kind of, something to keep for posterity, to record for posterity. Please do it, sir. It's a pity that we do not have recordings and television interviews with all the greats that we, worked with or we looked up to in our youth. So I think better late than never. Please go for it, sir.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. It'll also be done on digital platform. That's wonderful, Vikas. So congratulations on your new endeavor. I would like to ask you, they say film business is the happiest business. Now I know for a fact that it's very happy for the cast and crew. How happy is it for the producers and the presenters?
I do not know. See, happiness comes only when the results are something that you achieve. I say it is the toughest business. I always consider two entities as the most two important entities in the world. One is the scientist and one is the artist. And the scientist deduces. The scientist goes about with a very correct formula, and whether it's a vaccine that has to be invented or whether it is the centrifugal forces of the planets or something that is to be invented in rocket science. It is all deduced very scientifically. But for the artist, you do not have a book of rules. In fact, you throw away the book of rules and you have a 360-degree view of, there is no special formula of success or, trying to reach the end point. So I believe it's the toughest job. A lot of people are attracted towards the show business because they think it's all about glamour, gloss, and fame and money. No, it's not. It's really, really arduous, hard work, and very few people get away from here with success, the kind of success that you're looking for. A lot of people, unfortunately, in India, look at cinema as a great channel of commerce. They do not look at it as a channel of creativity. They should remember that this is not a consumer industry. This is not where you pack in a detergent of 1 kilo and say this is the price. The creativity factor has to be factored into your commerce. If you do not combine the two C's, the C of commerce and the C of creativity, you do not have the C of cinema. So it's very important that you take this seriously in another way. So, as far as the happiness is concerned, yes, when we work on our projects, when we work very hard, the journey is a very happy journey. I would not say the destinations are always a happy one, but the journeys are something to be remembered. And I would always say in life, in any field of life, in any phase of life, it's the journey that matters and not the destination. So in that way, I would say yes. I would look at it. I would look at happiness in that sense.
So you've been getting compliments with Ghar Jamai and the likes, and people are just relating and getting back and feeling nostalgic about the same. What is your take on the digital world, of course, with so many platforms being created where everyone has work? Whether it's quality or quantity doesn't matter. So what is your take on the digital world? How are you taking it as?
It's very amusing. The digital world is actually a fallout of two things: the very regressive, boring content on television after the new millennium set in, with all the daily soaps which are going nowhere. And secondly, what is the digital world all about? Jailam, you should know this. The digital world is nothing but a replica of what we started in 83, 84 with 13 episodes and 26 episodes and seasons, which Doordarshan did. What are these 8 and 10 episodes and seasons all about? It's exactly what the structure of those television serials used to be. We have gone back to classic television in the garb of digital platforms. That's all I can say. And that's thanks to the kind of television we are having today, where a lot of people even proudly say, I do not even have a television set, forget even watching today's television. So that is what my book is all about. It's in three books or three episodes. Episode one is the beginning, where I talk about the beginning of television in India, then Doordarshan, then sponsored television, right up to the time the satellite channels came, and then the satellite boom happened, and we had 150, 200 channels, and then the new millennium happened, which is the third part, which is the last part, and which I sadly call starting all over again, because we have brought ourselves back to square one, and we need to sort of look at ourselves all over again and do a rerun all over again. So that's what it is. So digital platforms have taken advantage of why television has fallen apart, and they are giving us exactly, of course, with new technology and new actors and new performers and new talent, they are giving us the same formula that we started off with in the 80s with good old Doordarshan. So that is what digital platforms are all about, and I hope and pray that they do not fall prey to the formula or to something which is pandering to the tastes of the lowest common denominator, and they get in some kind of class and dignity to this, so that it does not go uh, the television way. That's what I feel.
So, what is the success formula? Most of your films have been nominated and won at the international film festivals. Is there something when you just hear a storyline, or which starts from the inception itself, and then till the time we come to the editing, because that also plays an important part. So, which is the most important aspect in the entire journey? You know.
See, one has to be very brutal and uncompromising about the kind of cinema one wants to make. I have fed myself, educated myself, taught myself on the great masters, of Europe, whether it's Polish, Swedish, Czechoslovakian, German, French, English, and of course the other side of the world, Russian and Japanese. And even when you come to India, you have the great masters like Satyajit Ray and Mrinal Sen and Ritvik Ghatak, Tapan Sinha, Adur Gopalakrishnan, Shaji Karun, Arvindan, Girish Kasravali, and later on Govind Nilani and Shyam Benegal. I mean, when you are fed on and educated on the cinema of these great masters, somewhere the inspiration comes in and you want to emulate them. And today, if you see the kind of cinema, if you just pick up a catalog of any film, international film festival, and just go through the synopses of all the films, you you'll be shocked to see, or you'll be shocked to realize the kind of content they have, the kind of thinking they have, and the kind of concepts that they come up with. Here we aren't even allowed to think that way, leave alone making films of that type. So cinema has gone a long way internationally, gone long enough to shame us, to put us to shame, to almost make us feel that we are non-existent and that we are light years behind. So when you have this kind of challenge in front of you, all that you can do to sort of get an audience abroad and get your film across the globe, and not just limited to a 3-day release in India, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, weekend, is to think globally, is to think on those lines. Try and get themes that are not just good but outstanding, themes that are universal, treatment that would merit the great legends or the masters of all the European new wave renaissance that happened. And one absolutely ruthless, and I don't think we have the stamina or even the ability, I would say the ability, or even the tolerance and the temperament to put ourselves into such a tough situation to create, because it's a painful process, although it's a very rewarding process. So are you ready to go through that grind and meet global cinema standards? That is what we have to ask ourselves before you sit down and pen your next script. So that is what I put in front of me, and those are the sort of benchmarks I try to meet before I make my films. And although I try my level best to sort of get there where I want to, so many factors make sure that they pull you back over here, whether it's the budgets, or whether it's the distribution, or whether it's the exhibition, or whether it's plain a non-appreciation of what you do. So that's enough to sort of set you back and your morale. But I have somehow managed to continue very persistent with my work, very stubbornly, very with a lot of passion. I've tried to pursue what I wanted to do, and so far I mean I have been at it, and so far I have survived. I would say I'm just a survivor, and I hope I can survive for a little longer, because I have some great scripts to make.
I'm sure that will definitely happen. Is it an easy way out for filmmakers to get into biopics, since most of the biopics have been a success? And of course, the most beautiful and amazing film made by you, the Marathi film. Me Sindhutai Sabkal, of course, which won you the national award acclaim. How hard it is, to really get into the research and get the truths out and to be a winner at the box office as well.
See, there are two sides to this. You asked me whether biopics are easy to do. Some filmmakers, some mainstream filmmakers think that biopics are the easiest way out to woo an audience. They pick up a real character, either living or dead, and they add all the ingredients that they would like and dilute it to such an extent that it is now made palatable to a mass audience who come in thinking that this is the story of that particular person, that lady or that gentleman or whoever it is. And they are fed this adulterated stuff because they feel that, biopics are the best way to lure people into theaters in the name of reality. But what they actually get is, something very, very far away from that. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that is the biggest dishonor and the dishonest act to any real person, living or dead, you could do. Because if you're going to take their lives and take the so-called cinematic liberty and do what you like, then why don't you just leave them alone? There is so much fiction that you can cook up in your head and you can make it. Why take that as a prop and try and fool the audience? So when I get to a Sindhutai Sapkal or when I go to a Gaur Haridas, I make sure that I respect the person. Or, this poster you see behind here, Dr. Rakmabai, that was India's first practicing lady doctor. She's no longer around, but I had to be very careful in carving her life on screen. So all that you can do is take the so-called dramatic license. Dramatic in the sense that you don't have to make a documentary on these people. You can dramatize the situations in their life. And believe you me, there is so much drama in their lives, so much drama that it is stranger than fiction. And in Sindhutai Sapkal, the drama went to such a height that I had to actually tone it down. I had to get it down to very, very subtle levels, because if I had played it the way it actually happened in her life, people would think that I was exaggerating and lying. So biopics offer you a great scope to pay tribute, and I would say biopics are supposed to be a tribute to some great icons, whether they are celebrities or non-celebrities or unsung heroes in our lives. And one has to be very, very, very honest with them, brutally honest, because if you don't, then it's doing them a great disfavor. Then you might as well not touch upon them. So my biopics, whether it's Rakmabai or Gaur Haridas, or whether it is Sindhutai Sapkal, or even Prabhavati Amma, whose life I sort of, one chapter of her life I did in My Ghat, my previous Marathi film. I have tried to be as faithful to the real thing as possible, and just veer away from the documentary and make it dramatic enough to for it to be sort of palatable to audiences. But if you look at it very closely, it's the real thing. So honesty is the password for me when I make biopics.
Thank you, sir. One of them would like to know that how about having each multiplex reserve one screen to host only old movies? What is your take on this?
It's a wonderful idea. And the only thing that I fear is that when they do not even have the temperament to host new films and give us good show timings, would they really have, what would one say, the sensibility, the recognition of the old classics? Would we have, Ganga Jamuna running in a multiplex? Would we have Tisri Manzil running in a multiplex? Would we have Mother India? Would we have Johnny Mera Naam? Would we have all these, Mughal-e-Azam, of course, we did manage to see because of the color version that came out. Would we have these films running in a multiplex? Even the black and white era, would we have a Kismet, for example, with Ashok Kumar, or a Howrah Bridge, or Do Aankhe Bara Haath? None of the modern generation, or even us, even we haven't seen these in a multiplex, and we want to see it in high definition, on a digital output. So but wouldn't it be wonderful if they had just one show every day of one film per week, where you have a retro, has been there is a theater in Parel here, the theater which actually runs some of these old classics once in a while, in a week, one show. But that is not enough for us. The Matadin, it's the Matadin at Parel. So I wish somebody would do this. And it would be a great thing for all of us to go back down memory lane and watch all the great classics and suddenly realize that although they did not have the technical finesse of today, and all the technology that today's system has to offer, the content of a Do Biga Zameen or a Sujata or a Bandini, was far, far, far superior to what you are doing with all the technology today. There is so much to learn. What the film societies used to do. I mean, I'm a product of the film society movement. I used to see all the great classics at film society screenings. If you go to the FTII, they have the whole library of the greatest classics all over the world. So they would be happy to provide films, and we could revive the film society movement in one show per day, every day. Keep it as a morning show. I'm sure the film enthusiasts, they would throng the cinemas to watch this, this movement, that it could be revived. It's a great idea. I wish some chain, maybe the PVR or, the Cinepolis chain would implement this.
Well, that's wonderful. Vikas, I would like to know how come there's only one Lion King and nothing after that, not a sequel of Lion King?
Well,
There's only one Lion King. We didn't have, Lion King was a huge success, phenomenal success in all the languages. And how come we didn't have a sequel to Lion King?
you don't have to have sequels all the time, you see, and sequels most of the time do not work. See, Lion King was a classic in its own way. The Lion King had everything going for it. And forget the sequel. When you had the first animated Lion King, we were bowled over. We wanted to see it. It's there in our collection. But when the other Lion King came in, then suddenly you felt that it wasn't good enough as the animated Lion King. So forget the sequel. People are comparing even the original Lion King to a live Lion King. So it's better we don't touch these classics like Jungle Book or Lion King. They should remain where they are. And unless some great writer comes along and pens a sequel, very rarely do sequels work like the Godfather sequels or the Omen sequels. Omen 1 and Omen 2, but Omen 4 onwards, and after that it didn't work. So sequels are not something that I would encourage for classics, which just need to be there and not touched.
I'm so sorry, but I'd like to apologize to you. It's my mistake. Selvin mentioned for the sequel, he just said, how come in that genre, it's only one movie, Lion King? He just meant the genre. In that particular
I
genre,
guess that was I mean, you had Jungle Book, you had Lion King, a lot of films to do with the animal world. So, we don't need, we have enough, we don't need sequels. We have enough of those to sort of visit and revisit. I think that is good enough.
Sure, thank you. And we have this last question. Raj wants to know what was the brief which was given to Vinay Pathak and Tanisha Chatterjee for their roles in Gauri Hardas and Rakhmabai? What actually went into the character building process?
Great. I'm so glad you asked this question, because Gaur Hari Das is one of my favorite works, and we worked very hard on it. Vinay and me, we went to Gaur Hari Das's house in Daisar in Mumbai, and we sat with him and we just let him talk. We saw him walk, saw him talk, we saw him behave, interact with his children, with his wife, with the family, and with Vinay just observed. And observation is the biggest exercise that an actor can have. But it was very important, and we made this very clear to Vinay, that we did not want it to be something mimicked. We did not want it to be a caricature. We wanted it to be Vinay's own interpretation of the calm, collected and cool, demeanor of Gaur Hari Das. And that is what Vinay got into his entire perception of the character, whether it's body language, whether it is the tempo of his speech, whether it is the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he spoke and interacted. So that was what it was. We didn't do any workshops. We just sat with Das ji and we observed him and we sort of assimilated. He assimilated Das into him, and somewhere the osmosis started. It sort of started flowing from Das to Vinay, and suddenly Vinay was Das. And as far as Tanishta is concerned, yes, we did not have any reference points for Dr. Rakmabai. So, but we had the book, Rakmabai, The Odyssey. And the book was, in great detail about how she was India's first social rebel. She was the one who refused to stay with her husband, and because she had the differences with the husband, how she defied all tradition to go to England and pick up a doctor's degree, how she defined even Queen Elizabeth and changed the laws in India for child marriages. And then when she came to India, how she educated the people, how that, pregnancy was not a curse and that giving birth to children in a hospital was absolutely safe. So there were so many colors and so many layers to Dr. Rakmabai. So we studied that very, very deeply. And then we decided on what kind of a pitching we needed for, Tanishta Chatterjee as Rakmabai, the very vulnerable little girl growing into a woman of strength, growing into a woman of substance, growing into a woman of conscience, and finally, becoming a sterling example for everyone. Today, when doctors are our heroes, I think Dr. Rakmabai was our first hero. She fought the plague, the bubonic plague in Surat, and how she did yeoman service to everyone over there is something that is, that's what legends are made of.
Brilliant. That was absolutely a truly wondrous session. And I must say that if it's possible, we're going to request Mr. Yusuf Sheikh if he could have yet another session, because we have lots of questions that we received from our members. And if that is possible, of course, in the future. For now, my humble thanks to Ananth Mahadevan sir, and of course, to Yusuf Sheikh, who's heading the full vertical. And maybe please request Mr. Vikas Mitterse to address everyone at this point of time with tons of excitement. I'm sure he's all charged up after listening to Mr. Anand.
Thank you so much, sir. Oh my God, this is so amazing. And the stuff that we spoke about, how, oh my God, the honest cinema that you come with, it is so important and it's so valuable. And somewhere, the whole discussion about how, I've been yearning and we're dying to see the multiplexes and outlets allow, these movies to come out. I mean, I've been the biggest flag bearer of independent cinema. Got chance to do Newton recently, but before that, I got so many Page 3 and Yaha and Door with Nagesh and Door. We did Ashai and so many alternate films. And always the issue that comes up is where are the outlets who are willing to support alternate cinema, outlets which are ready to support, for the discerning audience who really like to spend their time watching. And you're right, you end up getting a 10 o'clock in the morning show or 9 o'clock in the morning show when nobody's available to watch it. So this is so important that honest cinema gets his own outlet to watch these movies. And I mean, we're asking for one single screen from your 11 screens, 7 screens, or 8 screen multiplex, and we're not asking for too much. It's just they deserve it, and there is an audience. And more so because you want to keep all your audiences together. You just don't want all the time golmaal only to work in the cinemas. You want all the audiences. Why are you sending them away? Why you then cribbing that these movies are all going directly to the digital platform, or they're going to alternate platforms, and they are getting consumed. Luckily for us, creative people and distributors, we know that there are alternate outlets which will help us. But amazing. Anand sir, so enlightening and so honest. I mean, you really are somebody I look up to, because you have stood your ground. You are doing your work with so much honesty, the fact about treating autobiographies and the way some of them are treated, it's cringing. How a character is mauled, but amazing, sir. I mean, keep it up, sir. And really, I mean, I'm sure there are so many more stories, and one fine day, let's do something really good with this. Really, power to you, sir. Really, power to you. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yusuf. So maybe please request Mr. Vikash with us to have a word, please, with everyone.
So since we're on the topic of films and films, let me tell you, I always watch a film twice. The first time is to enjoy the film as it is presented to us. The second time, I look at it from the director's eyes, his thoughts. In a film, every small bit of furniture or something on the wall is there because the director has placed it there. So let's look at that film the second time from his eyes or her eyes. You will enjoy it. The experience will be far more rewarding. I'm sure Mr. Ananth Mahadevan will agree, and my Yusuf and Jailam.
Absolutely, sir, because when I watch a film, first I watch it as an audience, and then I realize that I have, not noticed a lot of things as a filmmaker. Now I watch it as a filmmaker to educate myself and then realize why a particular shot is in close up, why is it a long shot, why is it moving, is the camera not moving. So then I dissect the film, analyze the film, and become a film student. So first it's as an audience, second it is as a student. So that's how you absorb great cinema. You don't have to do that with the run-of-the-mill cinema, but as great cinema that's the best way to educate yourself. I fully agree with you.
Exactly what I mean, though I'm not that technical as you analyze to that extent. I just do it. I want to put myself in the director's chair and see what did he think when he was making this film.
Right.
And I do want to introduce my film team. We already have Yusuf, the great Yusuf with us, and Jailam is a great find. I didn't know her before this. So happy to have her. We also have, not today, but on our team, Pradeep Dwivedi of Eros, who's a great friend, Sanjay Seksaria, who I know from 30 years, and Vivek Singhania. These are the people who are running the film vertical of finance. And finally, we have Bharat Dabolkar also next week. Not next
great.
week, on the 6th or 7th of November.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So we are in for a really good treat with you guys with us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm done for the day. I don't know where that 1 hour passed.
Just so true. Ananth, where does everyone get your book from if they want to buy it? Can you just tell us all?
Amazon, I'm sure.
Well, it's on Amazon, it's on Flipkart, and it's also on, with Mukhi and Sons. www.mukhysons.com. You can go to Mukhi and Sons. You can get it there too.
Order it, yeah.
Or if you want, there are signed copies lying with the publisher, Embassy Books. So if you go to the Embassy Books site and if you order, you'll get a signed copy, an autographed copy.
Fabulous.
Wow.
Thank you. Thanks.
We all would like to have one. Thank you very much. And for the webinar, we had with us Ananth Mahadevan, Sir, our legend, and of course, Yusuf Sheikh, Jailam, who's here with us, and Sir already introduced the entire crew of Film Vertical. I won't be surprised if Nazara Technologies is producing a film. And I think that's really coming up pretty soon, right after the work. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with us, all our beautiful members of India Business Group Chamber of Commerce, and all our guests who joined us today. Kindly leave us your contact details, and we shall definitely let you know about the future webinars as well. Humble thanks to all of you. Please enjoy the weekend, and it's a very, very special weekend. It's the Navratri as well as the Dasera, which all a very celebratory Dasera with all your loved ones. Be safe at home. God bless. Global Namaste.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you and goodbye.